Shalom, Pastor Harkman back at you with the truth, giving all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Hashem Makar Kodash. And I'm going to entitle this, If Thou Hadst Not Always Slain My Chosen. This is from 2nd Esdras Chapter 15, verse 53. And I'll read the whole verse. If thou hadst not always slain my chosen, exalting the stroke of thine hand, and saying over their dead when thou wast drunk. So last night I did a video. Let me just bring it up. What was it? Let's, I don't gotta go to it. So the video is Let's See Where the Spirit Takes Me. So the Spirit was on me to go into 2nd Esdras chapter 15. The whole chapter. So I read up until the 29th verse. So I'm going to start at the 29th verse. There are certain what do you call this? Verses that I'm going to go more into than into others. All right. I'm not going to go real deep or try to go real deep in every verse, because pretty much most of this is self-explanatory if you look at it. So let me start at the 28th verse. Most High willing, I'll be able to read to the very end. Let's see how many turns, I have to make. Anyway, it says 2nd Esdras 15, verse 28. And you brothers and some of you sisters, you men that came in from the beginning, we have probably did this breakdown on 2nd Esdras 15, and some of you out there have done breakdowns on it. I haven't found anything recently, but I always wanted to go into it again on the streets, and we never seem to do it, because we'll read the first couple of verses, then I got a precept. Oh, I got a precept. I got a precept. And it goes, the whole spirit might change up. So, the spirit is on me now to go into this. Like I said, I read up to the 28, 29 verse last night or yesterday. So let's just go right into it. Because this 2nd Esdras chapter 15, 2nd Esdras chapter 16, and most of 2nd Esdras deals with a lot of prophecy, and it speaks about this current time that we're living in. When you read 2nd Esdras 15, these things haven't come to pass. We're in the midst of these things coming to pass. Anyway, it says, behold, an horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, meaning the Middle East, meaning the Levant. Look that word up, the Levant. You can also look up the Fertile Crescent. That's the journey from Ur of the Chaldees going northwest to Haran, and then going down into past the land of Canaan, which is our land. Past that into Egypt, that's the scholars call that the Fertile Crescent. And it goes into, matter of fact, you know what? Let me just bring that up. Let me bring that up. Let's see what they say. Now this thing is acting up. Come on, man. I don't even know what this is all about. Let me try this again. Do it this way. The fertile crescent. There it is. Fertile crescent. Fertile crescent. Okay. It says the Fertile Crescent is a crescent-shaped region in the Middle East spanning modern-day Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, Jordan, North Egypt, together with the northern region of Kuwait, southern region of Turkey, blase, blase, but it doesn't say anything about Abraham because he was the one that took that journey. Let me do it this way. Abraham, let me try Abraham. What is the Fertile Crescent in the Bible? The Fertile Crescent is the boomerang-shaped region of the Middle East that was home to some of the earliest human civilization, also known as the cradle of civilization. This area was the birthplace of a number of technological innovations, including writing, the wheel, agriculture, and the use of irrigation. Yeah, because the first writing, the first writing in history is the Paleo-Hebrew. Now, I don't know why they don't mention Abraham, but that crescent-like boomerang, like path is from Ur to Haran, down past Canaan into Egypt. So now let me come back. And while I'm at it, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me go into the Levant. The Levant. The Levant is an approximate historical geographical term referring to a large area in the eastern Mediterranean region of Eastern Asia. And you got a map there. You got a map there. This is the Levant right here. Kuwait, you see Kuwait over there. You see Havilah, you see the four bodies of water. And so you got to notice geography because they're going to be talking just like they're talking about Ukraine in the Soviet Union. You begin to memorize the names of those different places. They call it Kiev. We used to call it Kiev in the Ukraine. So that's all on the news. But pretty soon, their focus is going to be back on the Middle East. So that's from the 29th verse, 28, 29th verse on down. It said, behold, an horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east. Who's from the east? The people that are in the Levant, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia. The word Arab simply means Arab. In the Hebrew, it just means mix. When the morning comes up, the Hebrew word for morning is also Arab. They use that term as well because it's a mixture of the day and the night. You can see a still night, and the same thing with the twilight. I'm looking at the twilight right now out the window, and it's a mixture of day and night. It says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. Modern day chariots are their jeeps, tanks, whatever weapons that they possess. And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, meaning they're going to be moving swift. That all they which hear them may fear and tremble. So the Most High is going to put a heavy spirit on the people of the Levant, the people of the Middle East. 30th verse. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And with great power shall they come and join battle with them. With who? The Arab nations, the mixed nations of the Levant. Because they're not the same people. The Carmanians are Persians, are Elamites. They're not Arabs, but they're gonna fight alongside with the Arabs. And with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Now the Assyrians is within the Levant, but in a bigger picture, they're also going to do some damage on Babylon the Great. See, Babylon the Great, Assyria also goes hand in hand with America. That's in the book of Hosea, dealing with the tribe of Ephraim. So let's take out this word so we can see what this word Carmanians, what does that mean? I'm going to show you that those are the Persians. Okay, let me go to the Persians. I mean, the Carmanians. Okay, it says Carmanians, KJV. Let me just click on that. Okay, boom. It mentions second Ezra 15, verse 30, King James Version. Carmanians in the Bible. Let me click on that. Okay, just give you the precept. Bring that back. Let me just go to Carmanians. Carmanians. Okay, this is a Carmenia Encyclopedia Iranica, which is for Iran. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you look it up, it says Carmenia, region east of Fars province. By the way, this is the language that they speak. They don't speak Arabic. The people of Iran, the Persian people, they don't speak Arabic. They speak a language called Fars. Fars or Farsi. Fars province, approximately equivalent to modern Carmen, the old Persian form, telling you that they're the Persians, rendered as Elamite. So they mention the Persians right here, and then they mention Elamite. It mentions Carmania for Darius' palace at Susa. So we don't have to read anymore. So we know who the people of the Carmanians are based on their own, they have their own history. So they know that, guess what? They know that they're the Persians. A dentist, a former dentist of mine, was a woman dentist. She tell you she's a Persian. Now I'll start talking about the history of Iran and the Persian and the Medes, and she knows that history, man. She told me a story that some friends of her, which are also Persian, Armenian, had a son, and they named the son Alexander, and she cursed him out for that. She said, "Why would you?" She said, "Why would you name your son Alexander when Alexander the Greeks took us down?" So I said, "Yeah, you know your history, you know." So now we got that out of the way. You know, it went right to it. In the first couple of lines, it went right to it. It mentioned Persia and it mentions Elam. Now, when you take Elam, let me take the word, not Elamite, but Elam, and you go to the blue letter. This is why the Most High made Jeremiah the prophet. He made him prophet to the nations, because we're just not going to teach that we are the Israelites. We're going to teach who the other nations are. That's why we teach that who Edom is, who Elam is in the scriptures. Every person that you see walking the earth, they're all their beginnings started in the scriptures. So Elam is in here 28 times. What I want to do is where is this? You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Let me do this. In India. Okay, it should be. Okay, it says here, Esther 1 verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Osiris, which he's the one that was richer than them all in Daniel 11 chapter. This is Osiris, which reigned from India. So the word India, the place on the map, India is in the scriptures, even unto Ethiopia, over 100 and 107 and 20 provinces. 100 a province is a state, so you can understand. So now let me show you something. So we know that the people of India are really the Persian people, which are Elamites. And remember, God, it will protect the people of Persia, the Elamites. Just like this situation now with Russia and the Ukraine, same thing going to happen. But this time, Russia, it will have something to do with the small hats as well. The least of them shall draw them out. Okay, so let me look up Osiris. Like I said, I did this video similar to this, I don't know how many years ago, and I went all into Carmenia and so forth. And you got to notice. Okay, this is Okay, Osiris, I will be silent and poor. Title of the king of Persia, probably Xerxes. Right, Xerxes was one name that he had, and but his biblical name is Osiris. Now let me see something. I want to try something. I want to go to Daniel just to see if they know it, to see if the commentary Christian scholars know this. Daniel 11. And don't be surprised. I won't be surprised if they do know. Okay, so it's Daniel 11 verse 2, which says, and now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia, the Greeks, which that was featured in the movie 300. When he fought against that guy, that he got killed at the end. That was Osiris, which was Xerxes. But in the movie, they called him Xerxes, so he had another name. Let me see how I'm going to do this. Okay. Daniel 11, verse 2. Okay, I don't need that anymore. What I'll do is just to see what they say. This is Bible Hub. I always go to Bible Hub. I'll go to the shortest one. Let me see. Yeah, the 3 kings following Cyrus, Cambyses, which they were right, which is Cambyses the second, and then you had Bardia and Darius, and then you had what mentioned Darius right here, and there was one in between Darius and Cambyses, which was Bardia, and it says, however, might easily, um, however, might easily be disregarded by the writer. In this case, the 3rd king would be Xerxes. Well, you had the 1 king and then you had the 3 other kings. So the 3rd king beyond Cyrus, it says in Persia, right? To belong to Persia. The 4th king following the 3 of the 4th, including Cyrus, who is reigning at the time of Daniel 10. Exactly. Yep. So sometimes these so-called Christian scholars, they'll get it right on point, you know. So when they say, "Oh, you Israelites don't know nothing about biblical history," so we'll show them. We'll say, "Wait a minute, your own scholars agree with what we say." It says, "I.e., the last of the 3, the latter interpretation is a more probable one. Otherwise, why was not 4 kings shall stand and say they playing with 3 kings, 4 kings? The 4th king is Xerxes, which is Osiris. Xerxes' wealth, it says, gum meta, being counted in the former case, but not in the latter. On Xerxes' wealth and strength. So I don't got to read anymore. So now let's come back to 30th verse. So now you know who the Carmenians are. Also the Carmenians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars in the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. So these are the way of the kings. Let me go to that. Let me go to that. Got to read it. I don't want to botch it up. Is that Revelation 9 or Revelation 16? I believe it's 16. Yeah, Revelation 16, verse 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So the Most High is going to stir up the spirit, the powers of the people of the Levant, because they got it. They're going to have to come together against Esau. Let's call him Esau, because it's not just America; it's the whole system, NATO and the EU. So now let's come back. And that's also in Isaiah 14. I believe that's 14 and 9, starting from 9. So let me come back over here to, it said the way the kings of the east may be prepared, right? Back to the 28th verse. 2nd Esdras 15, verse 20. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. Then it mentions the dragons of Arabia, it mentions the Carmenians. So this is actually talking about, it mentions the Assyrians, Assyria. So this is actually talking about the Middle Eastern nations, how they're going to get geared up. And then Russia, God is going to back them up. So something's going to happen. If you notice, I was watching the news. I watch CNN or whatever, financial news or whatever. But even on the financial news, they're talking about this situation, the crisis between Russia and the Ukraine. So everybody's pretty much talking about it, because Esau checks things out. If something major happens on the other side of the world, they know that they can be affected by it. So they got their eyes glued on Russia and the Ukraine. So there's going to be a time where they're going to have their eyes glued on the Middle East, on the Levant. It says, where the nations of the dragon of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, their military might, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmenians raging in wrath shall go for, and it's going to be behind the small hats as well. The small hats, what the small hats will do is lead the authorities of the small hats. They're going to lead Babylon into this situation, and that's going to be the Armageddon. '31 verse. because I read 30th verse. And then shall the dragons, what dragons? The dragons of Arabia have the upper hand, remembering their nature, because they're bloodthirsty. And that goes into, go back to Genesis. It says Ishmael is a wild ass. Matter of fact, let me get that. Let me get that. Okay, let me try it this way. Is that the wording? Let me try wild. Okay. Genesis 16, verse 12. I believe you got to go up a couple of verses. Let me try it this way. Okay. I got to read this whole chapter. This is dealing with, if you go to the first verse. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Now, when you read this story, we should all be familiar with it. What in the ancient world, if your wife couldn't bear, you would have relations with her, with one of her handmaids, and whatever child came out of that union, the mistress, that was her child. But when that happened, when she was walking around, when Sarah, well, not Sarah, but Hagar was walking around and her belly started to show, Sarah got mad at it and mad at her, and she used to beat her ass. She used to punch in the face, throw shit at her. I mean, it doesn't say it in the scriptures, but you know that's what happened. She didn't give her dirty looks, because you ain't gonna run into the fucking wilderness because somebody gave you a dirty look, because somebody looked at you sideways. Man, she was tripping her. She was throwing shit at her. He was working her ass to death, to the point where she said, I got to get the hell up out of here, man, with my son. And the angel of the Most High was dealing with Ishmael. Why? Why was the Most High dealing with Ishmael? Because he had to build the nations. Why did the Heavenly Father tell Israel not to mess with Esau? Because Esau had to be built up. Part of the prophecies. So now let me go here. Okay, it says Genesis 16, verse 11, and the angel of the Lord Yahweh said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh hath heard thy affliction. So whose affliction did the Lord hear? The affliction of Hagar, which she was from another nation. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Who is his brethren? Them other Arab nations. That's why they call them Arab, because they're mixed. And you will have the Persians, the Carmenians getting together with it to fight against Esau and the small hats. Okay, let me come back over here. 31st verse. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Their knees shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. Now, what's happening over there in the Ukraine? You got people fleeing from the land. You got the women, the children, and older men, older women. Now, there was a law, executive order, where if you're 18 years old to 61 years old, you had to stay there and fight. 33rd verse. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. So pursuant to Isaiah 14 chapter, the 9th verse on down, it speaks about how these kings, these leaders are going to wake up for war. Let the weak say I am strong. Joel 3. Joel 3 and 9 to be exact. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth. Now we know that it's not talking about actual stars, it's talking about people, because were we not in Revelation 13, there was a Revelation 12 chapter that speaks about the dragon's tail casting down the third part of the stars, right? So they ain't talking about actual stars. Now in certain scriptures, it speaks about stars falling to the earth, and that's what the prophet saw as the missiles coming. It looked like the stars were up in heaven, and all of a sudden they were dropping to the earth. What the prophet saw, because it wasn't just one prophet, but mainly it was John that saw that, and I believe Isaiah, it says, even their own star and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. Gonna be a lot of death. That's ain't nobody gonna be swimming in blood. It just means there's gonna be a lot of death. Remember, the scriptures speaks in a poetic manner, symbolism. And dung of men unto the camel's hoof. And there shall be a great fearfulness and trembling upon earth, because you have a term, the term is proxy war. Like you have a lot of Ukrainian people, the women and the children, and the older men and the older women, they're going into the next country, which is Poland, and Poland is accepting the men. So now if the Russians say we're going to attack Poland, that's called a proxy war. So another country gets involved in it. And I don't know if Poland is a NATO nation. And if I'm not going to look for it, somebody can put in the comment section. If Poland is a NATO nation, which I believe they are, then the other NATO nations have to get involved, along with America and Canada. So, you're getting a little taste of what war is. And then this war, they compared it to like World War I, World War II, because what? World War I, World War II was basically a ground battle. They're fighting in the streets. That's why there was a lot of casualties. 38th verse. And then shall there come great storms from the north and from the south and from the north, and another part from the west. Matthew's, I believe it's Luke 21, if I'm not mistaken. Perplexities, wars and rumors of wars, and perilous times shall come. 39th verse. And strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it, and the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the stars stirred to cause fear toward the east, and the west wind shall be destroyed. So this is all about destruction. This is that time. And this is going to only happen when the MOTB is made manifest, because that's the next thing they're going to give you. See, they put the whole Crown Vic Royale, they put it in a box. They ain't even talking about it anymore. They're saying you don't got to wear a mask no more. You don't got to get shots. They ain't pushing that no more. It's on to the next phase of the global reset. And strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it, and the cloud which he rise up in wrath, and the star, I read that already. Let me go to the 40th verse. The great and mighty clouds shall be puffed up full of wrath, and the star that they may make all the earth afraid. So you're going to have turmoil on the earth. You're going to have turmoil with the weather. You're going to have tidal waves. You're going to have floods. It says in Luke 21, I believe it's Luke 21, the seas with perplexity, the seas therefore roaring. It says, of them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible star, fire and hell, and flying swords. So what are the flying swords? The ICBM. The Apostle Paul said he saw hell mingle with fire, the hell about the weight of a talent. So he saw missiles, flying swords. This is what Ezra saw. And many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with the abundance of great waters. And all these bodies of waters in America, they're all going to be dried up. You know, the Great Lakes, the Mississippi, all those bodies of water inside the US, they're going to be dried up. They're going to become a desert. And they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains, which means governments, and hills, trees of the wood, that's in Revelation 8, and grass of the meadows, and their corn and their fields. Because after the missiles drop, things are not going to go back to normal. You're going to have people around the world or the other nation going to be contaminated by drinking contaminated water. There's going to be supply chain issues. Everything's going to be broken down. So that a lot of people are going to starve to death. It says, and they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. Now we know what or who Babylon is. They shall come to her and besiege her, the star and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust of smoke go up unto the heavens. So this star represents what? It represents the destruction. It represents the missiles, because that's the thing that's going to do the major damage, to destroy the whole land. It said, then shall the dust and smoke go up unto the heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her. Meaning what? The other nations around about her. Revelation 18. And they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put her in fear. Now, ultimately, you're going to have certain people escape, and they're going to go right into captivity. And that's in the very last verse of this the chapter right here. And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. Now that's talking about the Far East. You know, you got these Moabites and these Ammonites. trying to dress like Americans, a Western way. Now, in the 16th chapter of Second Esdras, it speaks about Asia. So Asia's going to, the Asian nations, they're going to play a part in this thing too. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou, and this is also spoken of in Jeremiah chapter 48. I'm not going to go into that. Thou hast made thyself like unto her. You know, when you go to Japan and China, they have KFC, they have McDonald's, they have Burger King, they have all these different American, and they go out to eat and they dress like Americans, man. And has decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers. Because when these Asian women come over here, who they looking to get with? An Edomite. So their children can look more like Edomites and be more accepted. See, they look at Esau as gods, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore saith the Most High, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And that's talking about Babylon. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee. And that's the destruction. Like I said, when you read these prophecies, it's the same prophecy, just given to the different prophets in a different way. Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, and as one chastised with wounds. That's talking about, the scriptures say, Jeremiah, we would have healed Babylon, but it couldn't be healed. Make balm for her pain. So that the mighty and lovers shall not be able to receive thee. Would I with jealousy have so proceeded against thee, saith Yahweh. 53rd verse. If thou hadst not always slain my chosen, perpetual hatred in Ezekiel, exalting the stroke of thine hand, and you got off on it, man, beating us down, and saying over the dead, when thou wast drunk, because you were drunk with what? Your philosophy, which is number white supremacy. So when you read this whole chapter, especially from like the 29th, 30th verse on down, what else could it be talking about? Set forth the beauty of thy countenance, the reward of thy whoredom shall be in thy bosom. Therefore shalt thou receive recompense. Recompense meaning payback. Payback is a bitch. Like as thou hast done unto my chosen, saith Yahweh, even so shall the Most High do unto thee. But how is the Most High going to do unto you? He's going to use us to do it. Ezekiel 25 and 12 on down. I shall deliver thee into mischief. Donald J. Trump said he became president to make America great again. America is not going to be great again. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down. It says in, what is that? Revelation 7, if I'm not mistaken. there was a great earthquake, and the city was broken into what is it? I think it was 7 regions, 10 regions, I believe it was. Let me go to that. Let me see if I'm correct. Okay, there it is right there. Revelation 11, verse 13. In the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and the earthquake and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the Most High of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So the first and the second woe came and went before we were even born. '57 verse. Almost finished. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy cities shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, because you got these preppers, right? They're gonna go into the mountains, and they'll say, we'll have enough food for the next 6 months. Now, the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month, you dropping dead. You eating your own flesh, the flesh of your children. They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. Thou as unhappy shalt come through the sea and receive plagues again. So wherever you go to a better place, you're gonna catch hell when you get to that place. It's all downhill for you, Esau. And in the passages they shall rush on the idle cities, and shall destroy some portion of thy land, and consume part of thy glory, and shall return to Babylon that was destroyed. Now they're not gonna actually go to the land of Babylon, because once it's completely destroyed, nobody will be able to go there. So this is more of a parabolic thing than anything else. And thou shalt be cast down by them as stubble, and they shall be unto thee as fire. What is that fire talking about? The ICBMs. 2 more verses. It says, and shall consume thee and thy cities, thy land and thy mountains, all thy woods and thy fruitful trees, because America is when Solomon had the ships come over here to the Americas, this was a paradise. That's why he would send the ships back and forth. You know, it was a 3-year cycle. They would go over there. They would probably be there for a certain amount of time to get gold, get silver, get various things, and then they would go back and they would give it to Solomon. They would present it to Solomon. It said the gate shall not be closed day nor night. And the same thing happened when Solomon was sitting on the throne. There was a gate around the city, man. So you couldn't come to see Solomon unless you was invited to see Solomon. It says, and thy fruitful trees shall they burn up with fire. It says that in Joel The second, let me go to that real quick. Joel 2. Joel 2. Okay, third verse. Joel 2, verse 3. A fire devoured the same, that's that same fire, that destruction. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth, which represents the ICBMs, the delivery system, which is the rocket. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yeah, and nothing shall escape. So that it says it's going to be as the Garden of Eden. That's talking about America. When you go to the middle of America, when you go to the Bible Belt, that's still a paradise. That's where we get a lot of our cattle and produce and so forth from. A 63rd verse, and then I'm going to close. Thy children shall they carry away captive. Whose children? Esau's children. And look what thou hast. They shall spoil it and mar the beauty of thy face. They shall spoil it and mar the beauty of thy face, thy facade. And that's in Isaiah. I'm going to read that and then I'm going to close. Isaiah 13. Put in the word face. A face meaning a facade. Isaiah 13, verse 8, and I'm going to close. And they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them, because there's going to be a buildup to this destruction. Just like there was a buildup with Russia invading the Ukraine, excuse me. It took some while. They kept talking about it. And now it was a rumor of war that became a war. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth, and we know who that's talking about. Read the first couple of verses. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces, their facade shall be as flames. Their facade is going to be burnt up. They're not going to have no more face. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.